This is Klein. He dies. This is Joe Mingrui. He does a chant and wakes up in Klein's body. The beginning of his lampooning journey. Turns out he can host Zoom meetings whenever he wants, and calling it the Tarot Club, he invites two other people and pretends to be a god. Later, he is invited to join a cult which he happily accepts, since they are big fans of his fanfic. Also turns out the cult is full of deranged drug addicts. Klein wants to join in and also takes some drugs and becomes a professional seer, since he enjoys being a charlatan so much. He joins a divination club where he can get even more money. Klein takes mysticism lessons from a guy named Old Neil, in the company, who prays to a god to resolve his 30-pound debt. It works. Also, it turns out Joe Mingrui isn't the only one who got transmigrated into this world, using the original Klein's memory fragments. He realizes that a person called Emperor Roselle was also migrated, and introduced many Earth inventions to this world, including condoms. Later, at the Zoom meeting, Klein tells the participants to call him a fool and recite a cringy incantation whenever they want to talk to him. Klein and his fellow co-workers at the company try to catch a bad guy, but he mysteriously disappears. Klein and his fellow co-workers then do a robot dance, because they will die if they stop. Later, Klein sees his co-worker Leonard get up in a zesty manner. Quiz time. Leonard sees Klein as a co-worker. Klein sees Leonard as dead. Klein's sister thinks he is hitting on a 16-year-old girl, but Klein isn't, since he is not a weirdo. He then destroys a mirror in anger. Klein goes to meet his history teacher who has dementia, and tells him that he found a good job as a cultist member instead of the professor job he was applying for earlier. Klein asks a detective to find a house with a red chimney, except there are already thousands of them in the city. One of Klein's Zoom meeting participants, Audrey, realizes her dog can talk after it take drugs. Klein gets angry because a swindler stole thousands of pounds and ran away, never to be seen again. Klein goes to a mental asylum. Turns out, the man who disappeared earlier had turned into a woman. And after killing many innocent people, she gets away again. Later, a 16-year-old girl, the same one from before, tells Klein about her adventures. Then Klein tells her to fall asleep right in front of him, so that he can go inside her. Dream. The dream leads him and the Nighthawks to an evil wraith, which they purify by praying to the sun. Klein is interested in how it worked, and tries looking at the sun, but ends up being burned alive and almost dying. Klein tricks a 14-year-old boy to join his Zoom meeting cult. Klein then figures out he can translate languages in real time in the meeting. Old Neil retires, because he wants to spend his last few years with his wife playing the piano. Klein becomes an official clown and gets a copper whistle from his forgetful history teacher. Klein is jealous of a zombie since he got game and not Klein himself, but instead of shooting the zombie to death, Klein makes it fall asleep. A famous pirate is eaten by shadows after trying to peacefully attend a party. Klein figures out that his captain has an interesting taste in food. Klein's captain then confessed his love to a pregnant woman, but he gets rejected, and they all jump the woman. Klein feels a bit guilty for doing that and kills himself, but decides it's not worth it and comes back alive. Also, it turns out Klein is a fan of Sherlock Holmes and wants to become a detective. His brother and sister disapprove though, so Klein travels to another city so he can act like a detective. Klein grows a beard and then gets a detective mission, in which he finds a rotting corpse in the sewers. A hunter asks Klein to find a boy, but Klein refuses. Disgruntled, the hunter attacks Klein, but Klein wins and kills him. Klein meets a man who plays poker with dead people, and weirded out. He instead goes to a gathering with even weirder people where he buys a black ear which can play rap music. Klein hires a goth woman to protect him. Later, an ambassador tries to rizz up a woman but someone crawls out of her stomach and kills him instead. Klein throws the black ear from earlier at a fraud who hates the music coming from it so much that he dies. Klein and the goth woman blow up an ancient ruin. Klein reads Emperor Roselle's diary, in which, being a man of culture, he wrote, "The taste of a demoness still isn't bad." Klein meets the swindler from earlier, who stole thousands of pounds and beats him up. Klein tricks another member to join his Zoom meetings, who turns out to be an author who loves writing smut. Klein then steals a relic from a museum and narrowly escapes a dog which tries to kill him. One of the Zoom meeting members, Derek, pretended to be crazy and was put in prison, where he met a former team captain who really went crazy. The former captain tries to attack him, but Derek burns him. revealing another person inside of the crazy captain who was wearing a crystal monocle. Luckily, Derek's captain comes and saves him in time. The monocle man turns into a bunch of worms and one of them crawls into Derek. Luckily, Klein saves Derek by hitting the monocle-wearing worm with a whip. Klein acts as a superhero and saves a bunch of people and becomes famous. Klein is surprised because he finds a dead body, buried in a cemetery. Klein dabbles a bit in the stock market. A few detectives and Klein form a band because there is a scary devil on the loose. Reminiscing about home, Klein watches a live stream through a talking mirror. Derek and his captain, along with party members, get trapped in a time loop but manage to escape. Klein meets a threesome spirit. He later invites a Sanguine, to join his Zoom meetings. A bunch of meteors fall at Klein by coincidence, but his history teacher saves him in the nick of time. His teacher then battles a disgruntled employee and an imperative mage while Klein fights a guy who looks like a girl. Anyway, some sealed artifact shows up and turns out it has a very powerful eraser. Thanks to this, Klein manages to get away. In the meantime, a demoness has too much gas and ends up farting a lot, which causes a drop in air quality. Klein doesn't want to live in this stench anymore, and being a One Piece fan, he ends up becoming a pirate. As a pirate, Klein first scares a couple of innocent kids. Klein then makes a powerful Beyonder his slave and goes aboard a ship. The ship takes a stop at a town which turns out to be infested with Beyonder corruption. Luckily, Klein and his pirate servant Danitz rescue most of the people and leave the strange town. Klein finally meets one of the Tarot Club members, Alger, in person. After that, Klein and his servant hunt some pirates and then travel elsewhere. Turns out, Danitz has a bounty of 4,200 pounds, and Klein resists to just capture and turn him in. Danitz's captain enters his dream, and Klein, feeling left out, enters as well. They have a nice talk about history while Danitz sits quietly, like a poor child. Klein then watches an anime called That Time I Stole the Identity of a Fish That Became a God. Danitz's bounty increased to 5,500 pounds. Klein summons another goth woman with 4 heads and asks her to become his messenger. She accepts. Klein recruits a pirate captain to his tarot club. However, she leaked some of the tarot club's meetings to her mommy, and Klein gave her a punishment listen to the True Creator's rap album. Also, Klein turns into a woman who tries to assassinate a femboy. Later, Klein kills the owners of a bar, and then escorts an apothecary to another island, who is protecting a die. Klein figures out that Leonard has an old man inside of him. Klein has a wet dream while thinking about all the women in his life and then subdued a woman who wanted to have a baby with him. Lord of the Mysteries. Nah, Lord of Virginity is more like it. Klein proceeds to wash toilets as a volunteer for a while. Klein then boards Katlia's ship, once again meeting a tarot club member in person, to find mermaids. Klein meets the most powerful being in the whole verse, Frank Lee, capable of destroying true gods merely as a sequence 5. Klein and Katlia, along with her crew, enter the Sea of Ruins, in which they all dream together happily. They recruit a new member, and Klein, feeling a bit itchy, attacks a pirate king for no reason whatsoever. Later, Klein's glove eats a person, and Danitz's captain, Edwina, mysteriously disappears. Danitz asks for help and Klein arrives, saving her by self-inserting himself.
Fanfic.
In it, they fight a terrifying ice dragon. Klein buys a gun that works against Beyonders, and the Admiral of Blood tries to catfish Klein by sending him messages via a telegram. In retaliation, Klein and his messenger blow up a mountain. Klein feels like he's acted enough as a pirate, and he returns to Backlund with all his cash. He acts as a tycoon, bragging about his money. Klein meets Emperor Roselle's daughter at a restaurant. He buys a mansion and hires a bunch of servants and a butler named Walter. Emlyn hunts other people who like the moon, even though Emlyn himself is a vampire, and Alger dreams of an elf queen. Klein, feeling lonely, tries to shoot his shot with the man who turned into a woman all the way in Volume 1, but he gets friend-zoned regardless. They agree to cooperate with each other. Depressed by rejection, Klein creates a hurricane. Turns out Klein has a personality disorder, but instead of resolving it like a normal person, he just kills the other version of himself using a candle. Klein feels like killing Alger after hearing his absolutely terrible singing while exploring an island together. After leaving the island, Klein realizes that he was on hallucinogens the whole time and that it never existed in the first place. Klein attends a ball. He lampoons, "These are all friends I am familiar with. Well, I'm even more familiar with the fetus in the womb of Aaron's wife. Why does that sound wrong? Klein then reminisces about the diary he used to have, and wanting to read it again, he breaks into a church. Turns out the sealed artifact with the eraser is there, and she erases Klein from existence. This is the end of Klein's story. Now, for the second half of Lord of the Mysteries, we follow Leonard Mitchell, who always claims he is the protagonist. Leonard has been alive this whole time and has slowly been getting stronger with the help of his grandpa. Oh yeah, and he briefly becomes a Sequence 8 gravedigger of the corpse collector pathway. Haha, did I trick you? Anyways, Klein feels like hiking a mountain that his subconsciousness always tells him to. He also meets an old man up on the peak. After the hike, he meets more Tarot Club members in public through parties among other things. He also helps the goth woman from before and her friend helps steal a mummy. Klein is jump-scared by Eamon, who is rumored to have appeared in Backlund. Horrified, he quickly leaves for another continent. Meanwhile, Danitz meets Anderson, who turns out to be pregnant. Klein and his teacher enter a treasure trove and meet a large snake. Klein's Tarot Club has its 50th meeting. A company party is hosted in which Klein meets Leonard, Daly, and other friends. Klein then proceeds to smite a disgruntled employee multiple times because Klein doesn't like his fanfic, and everyone claps. For the finale, Daly and Captain Dunn do a dance, in which everybody cheers. Oh also, Klein gets jumped by 2 angels anyways. Klein has a therapy session and helps Danitz increase his power. Klein then recruits 2 more members to the Zoom Meetings Club. Klein dabbles in arms deals and is spied upon by the threesome spirit from before, who turns out to love violence. Klein returns to Backlund and fights with a rat, but the fight is interrupted by Eamon. Klein shits his pants and gets out of there. Klein plays poker with some other people but gets angry after he loses, so he kills them. Eamon jumps Klein again, but he, Leonard, a grandpa, and a baby fight back and manage to win. Audrey then hypnotizes an innocent family who used to briefly have an obsession with Mont Coles. She then enters the dream of multiple people because she has no gossip to talk about. She, Klein, and Leonard self-insert themselves into a book again and play Truth or Dare. Except you have to choose truth. For some reason, Klein develops a fetish for blood. Trissy also prays to a door and the great Lord frankly gives Derek horrifying mushrooms. Klein finishes his collection of 22 different types of blood and starts writing fiction. Even though the King of Lowen is an emperor, he wants to become a black one, so he builds a bunch of mausoleums and hires a bunch of powerful beings, such as the royal family members or a rabbit. Sadly, he hires the wrong ones since they are all frauds. Klein becomes Megami and summons a bunch of powerful projections as he screams while lightning falls down. While everyone is enveloped in a sea of lightning, Klein runs away into the past. He returns to his hotel room, and when he finally tries to relax, Eamon jump scares him again. He forces Klein to go on a date with him, and Klein has no choice but to accept. There is a raging storm outside, and Klein asks if the date can be rescheduled to a later day because of the weather. Eamon declines as they continue the date. He and Klein talk more, and eat food together as well, and Klein slowly realizes his date is a freak. All the Tarot Club members pray to Klein for help, but he is the one who really needs help right now. He tries to escape 3 times but fails. Luckily, he has a plan. He kills himself. Remember the true creator from before. He's angry since Klein has stopped his descent 3 times. So he sends a servant to kill Klein, dragged by. Meanwhile, Eamon jumps a grandpa after laying a 1,000-year trap for him. Klein preaches people about his Lord and Savior, which is just himself. Afterwards, Klein thinks back to his and Eamon's date, and feels a bit regretful that he dumped Eamon. He returns to the spot. But then the moon looks at him. Meanwhile, Emlyn and his squad kill 2 shaman kings and Audrey causes a protest to happen. Klein later hunted a demonic wolf who was peacefully living their life in a city. Klein temporarily joins Derek and his captain's squad as they open a large door. The god of combat's mother disowns him. Also, turns out everything was Adam's plan all along. Meets with the threesome spirit while Klein steals the talking mirror from before. Klein then arrives at a city that has a law of angels being equal to humans. It seems to be the work of a magical book, but Klein manages to control and throw it onto a mountain. Furs talks to a door while Klein arrives at another city where he helps solve a case. Bernadette becomes pregnant and prays to Klein to remove the baby, which Klein does do. Eamon trolls Klein by ringing a bell in his ears. Klein creates a tour for a brand new city, but the old man from way before and Adam sneak in without paying. Klein is stabbed by himself. However, he He lives, but is still not able to get away from Adam. Luckily, Klein has a plan again. He kills himself. Also, the gods descend and jump a door. Klein buys a baby some ice cream, and then goes on a date with the Evernight goddess. Alger leaves his church and takes on the identity of the sea god. Klein attends a marriage and then attends his last therapy session with Audrey. Klein aura farms and destroys the Garden of Eden and then gives some river water to the Evernight goddess. Also, Klein dies. How? Well, first he clones himself and then commits identity theft, but turns out all the doors in the world are closed, making two gods fight each other mentally. Eamon challenges Klein to a game of chess, but Klein offers to play Russian roulette instead. Klein then climbs a staircase and then, finally, what? You think I'm going to tell the ending? Go read it yourself.